Hi, Jerry Nelson, Life Coach. Welcome to my series of videos on constructive anger. And this particular video is Lesson 10, Managing Your Anger Through Empowering Yourself and Understanding and Working with Systems of People. The whole point of this particular lesson is that people come in systems. And when you understand that, rather than being an individual, you start seeing yourself as being part of a system, and then you start seeing how you might change how you interact in a system, or what pieces of the system you could possibly change or be empowered through. So let's first of all describe systems. And I've got many systems on here, kind of complicated, but I wanted to give you an idea of what I would call a normal system. We have a family with a father. The males are in square boxes, females are in round boxes. And you have a married man and a married woman. They have a good relationship. 2 lines is a good relationship. 1 line would be a weak relationship. 3 would be over-involved. And then they have 3 children. They have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. A 7-year-old boy and a 5- and 3-year-old girls. Now, they have a particular boundaries on the outside of their family. That they've got some places they got boundaries and some places that they're openings. And they have many different systems around them. I haven't really defined how involved they are. Just showing that there's many different systems. So this would be a healthy family. The parents are above the generation line. What that means is they're both functioning as adults. The kids are functioning as kids, and it's just what we would call a typical family. Okay, now let's move on. Take that same system, move over here, and look at what they would be like if they were destroyed or had some issues going on. Now what I've done here, leave off this part, what I've done here is I've moved the man down below the generation line. The woman is still above the generation line, but now the son, the oldest son, has come up above the generation line. And this is a typical structure of a family when the man is drinking too much, he's alcoholic, and he's acting like a kid. He's below the generation line, he's not acting like an adult. He's in conflict with his wife because she wants to stop him from drinking. The oldest child becomes a heroic child and has to become the parentified child. And in other words, a child that relates to the other gender by being more mature than their age. And then the other children are more or less just there. Now I've also made this boundary more permeable, less structured than this one, because anybody can come into the home at any time, and the factors that show that the boundaries of the family are not very intact. Now, didn't make Al-Anon as a system. Now, what happens, or how could these things be explained, and how does this relate to someone that's struggling with empowerment themselves in a system? Well, this 31-year-old could also be later on divorced, so we'd move him out of here, and now he's in heavy conflict with his wife, very little relationship, and he's in conflict with the courts because he's been thrown into jail from DUIs, and he's also over-involved in AA. He isn't mature yet. He's using AA as his crutch. And later on, if he gets to a point where he's recovering, then he could be on a less involved relationship with AA. So you have these different systems. The wife now could be relating to Al-Anon and getting some empowerment there. But this gentleman is in conflict with the courts. He's been in DUI. So how does he systemically get empowered? Well, he hires a lawyer who then deals with the courts. And that may or may not empower him, depending upon what the courts decide, but systemically he's empowered. He's got somebody on his side now. So the question rises, you're living in some kind of a system. This will just give you a general idea of how systems actually work. So what do you do to empower yourself? Well, first of all, I would assess. Well, first of all, acknowledge you're in a system. We all are, but some of us think we're loners, and we're really not. So then assess what kind of a system you're in. Assess where your relationships are good and where they're not good. And if you're in a relationship here where now you've gone down the road, you're 31-year-old, you've gone down the road and you're now recovering and you want to reestablish relationship with your wife, she won't talk with you, she's divorced you, and you say, well, I want to relate to her somehow. Well, if there's some third party that you could involve that would get you to talking to each other, that would be a way to empower yourself in a system. So anytime you're stuck, you can't make things work, you can expand the system. And then the other point of systems that I wanted to make is that we are individuals, but we are always continually dealing with systems. And a system dealing with an individual, the system will always win. An individual has very little chance of affecting a system. But a system addressing a system on behalf of the individual, that is a possible win for the individual. So that's where you see different groups of people bond together in an association, because the association can then deal with the government, or here where a lawyer could interact with the courts because the guy is now recovering, or someone in AA could be documenting that the man hasn't drunk for 6 months. All these kinds of things are other systems validating and empowering the individual. So the purpose of this is to get you to see and assess what kind of systems you are in. It's very interesting. An alcoholic, for example, is highly vulnerable because they're doing behaviors that put them at risk. They again need to get into something like AA or Al-Anon, where they are, their lives are becoming more stable. So the homework or the recommendations in terms of books, again, I would recommend the 5 love languages if you're a couple that are having difficulties. I would recommend Roger Dawson's books on negotiating, any kinds of systems books like therapy books that you might get a hold of. And I would say that the assignment for this lesson is that you assess your system. You may not know how to draw it out exactly, but you could draw a picture of how you see the system being, and assess where you're at in that system. Try to figure out where you can make some movement or where you can get some empowerment, so that you're not just angry and alone, but that you're actually moving towards a successful lifestyle so you don't have to be angry anymore. Again, the whole point of understanding systems is that we learn how to react and interact with people in a way that doesn't generate anger in us or in them. Again, you need to assess the system, and I would suggest, if you have this kind of thing going on, that you look at what kinds of systems you need to change and make a strategy on how you want to change them. You might have a court that you want to interact with, and you need some process to do that, or you might have a social services department where you need to correct something that you did in the past. So with that, I'm Jerry Nelson, Life Coach, and thank you for watching this video.